When it comes to televised entertainment, monster trucks were my first love. The gigantic machines like Bigfoot, Carolina Crusher, and Gravedigger running over cars became a staple of my childhood. Of course, I wanted my love for monster trucks and my growing enthusiasm for gaming to blend together, but the quality rarely proved high. While there were some exceptions to the rule of monster truck games being terrible, like Monster Truck Madness on the PC, my hope of having that epic monster truck experience on a gaming console seemed impossible. Rainbow Studios and THQ Nordic came together alongside the Monster Jam license to put some of the biggest names in modern monster truck racing in environments both real and fictional with Monster Jam Steel Titans. A solid experience hindered by lacking gameplay modes and multiplayer options. Hoping that the developers would learn from what made their previous entries so short-lived and mostly forgettable, I got ready to strap in for another monster-sized go-round with my favorite car crushers. Monster Jam Steel Titans 2 does a great job at appearing beefy at first glance, but it's truly a hollow experience, especially in regards to completion, just like its predecessor. The game immediately thrusts the player into the tutorial upon loading up for the first time, before proceeding to the open world HUD or park, made to explore and find secrets like truck-specific jumps to grab gigantic upside-down triangles, promising to help unlock more trucks. And just like the previous entry, every truck other than the two starter vehicles are locked until the player works their way through World Career Mode, a mode featuring a few stadium events, but mostly waypoint and checkpoint races across the various HUDs that open up as the player progresses through the single-player modes. The other single-player mode, the Big Show, removes the open-world action and puts the player in the biggest stadiums available to compete in head-to-head drag races, freestyle battles, and timed events featuring the destruction of objects like buses and boxes containing balloons. Both modes are Grand Prix in nature, with the player doing their best to finish in first in every race or battle. After a little over 10 hours, I finished both World Career and the Big Show modes, while picking up many achievements and unlocking their new Game Plus versions for more repetitive action, where the difficulty is solely based on the fact the player must finish first to unlock that next sub-event. Quick play for gamers who don't care for the grind of playing through the single-player modes is just like its predecessor in presentation, while shattering the hopes of said gamers thanks to the terrible drawback that only the trucks unlocked through World Career Mode and the HUD exploration can be used in quick play action. Improvements to the multiplayer encourage yours truly to spend more time playing online than expected, though finding a plethora of players is pretty much impossible. For completionists, the real grind comes from discovering all the collectibles and secrets and unlocking all the trucks, something proving too time-consuming and admittedly boring to complete. Monster Jam Steel Titans 2 doesn't lie to the player by trying to present itself as a simulator, going with a more arcade approach right down to the presentation, as the first thing introduced to the player is some of the insane things a truck can do, like backflipping off steel containers, spinning off two tires to reset the truck on all fours, and soaring like an eagle. Rainbow Studios has done an impressive job in crafting each truck from an aesthetic perspective, especially when the truck body starts coming apart during a particularly wild encounter. And wild is what the player will experience most of the time due to the game's physics. Easily the biggest flaw regarding its predecessor and its sequel is its physics. Each truck is incredibly light in terms of control, bouncing unbelievably from hitting a low point in the world or simply taking a quick turn. The physics are frustrating at times, as it will cause unwarranted rollovers that can ruin a race, as resetting the truck via the reset button will usually put the player's truck in the back of the pack, no matter how far ahead the player is compared to the competition. While playing more will allow the player to understandably adjust to the physics, there will be many a time when the game decides to do the seemingly impossible with a truck coming off a minimal jump by sending it spiraling forward. The performance customization features from Steel Titans 1 have been removed, with the game automatically upgrading certain aspects of whatever truck is being used by the player via experience points gained from completing events. This is actually a little surprising, as the player now doesn't have control of truck performance progress. If the player can finish the single player modes or discover the secrets scattered around the HUDs, they will find some trucks even have color swaps. One of the oddest additions to the gameplay is the class-specific powers. Every truck is connected to a particular class, and each class has a specific ability, like a sudden speed boost, or being able to send nearby trucks careening backwards. It's an interesting idea that doesn't really add much strategy to races outside of the open world environments. Another huge issue with the original Steel Titans was the lacking multiplayer options. All players could do in Steel Titans was circuit races online. Steel Titans 2 has split-screen local play, as well as the ability to have online one-on-one Grand Prix, where players can drag race, freestyle, two-wheel stunt, and take part in time destruction events. Players can also participate in online waypoint and circuit races, with up to 6 human racers, as well as free riding throughout the HUDs. All the online options have public and private hosting features to give gamers an opportunity to enjoy themselves as they see fit. Technically, the game is definitely a mixed bag. The trucks look polished and impressive, especially compared to Steel Titans 1, but the open world elements have rather flat, almost 7th generation looks to them, including things like trees and cars being driven over at any given moment. Frame rate drops can be a problem in the HUD areas and when simply moving through a stadium. There are also extensive loading times when going from any area back to the HUD, as well as the online modes featuring up to 60-second idle moments to set up the next game, even if there are only 2 people playing in a private match. And that's not mentioning the times when the next online race will refuse to load and the player has to restart the game. The soundtrack is mostly unremarkable, and the lacking commentary during actual arena races takes away from the feeling of being a part of a real monster truck event. Steel Titans 2 is essentially a bigger, somewhat better version of what came before it, with some interesting decisions in regards to gameplay modes both offline and online, but lacks the improvements necessary to be an overall crushing good time. Improving on several areas of Steel Titans, Monster Jam Steel Titans 2 still lacks in several departments, including the base gameplay featuring rather weightless trucks struggling to stay balanced, with said trucks needing to be unlocked through the mundane single-player offerings. For die-hard monster truck fans, this will prove fun for a short while, thanks to things like the improved multiplayer options and the absurdity of a 3-ton truck doing cartwheels. The initial asking price of $40 is nice, but still is too much for what the player is given, unless your greatest joy in life is ridiculous physics featuring a gigantic machine failing to get off its back or side, like a high-octane turtle.